Welcome, everybody. Hello, Justice Warriors. I am coming on here to share some information. As you know, I always follow the arrest and stuff for CSAM and child exploitation, specifically in Indiana. And I have a person who has been shared and information that I need to share with all of you guys. And I went to look more into this particular guy. You know, I keep track of him. We have this massive database that we have created, and I enter all of these as we go through them all and keep track of them, because lots of times then when a ring gets busted, I can see which ones were in common for the ring that is busted. So this one I went to go look more into, and I found out a connection for Delphi. So I thought maybe all of you guys may be kind of interested in that. So let me shout out real quick to everybody. Hello, Miss Paige and Mama Bear. And hello, Shane. Hello. Oh, that is so nice, Shane. You're so nice. Hello, Miss Jinx. And I appreciate you guys all coming. Hello, Frederica. Welcome. I am glad you guys are here. So let me share my information with you guys. And it's this. Let me do a warning. I guess let me do this first. This stuff is extremely beyond normal CSAM disturbing. So I do want to make sure that there is a warning about this information that is going to be shared. If this stuff is triggering or that for you, you may not want to hear it. So I am first going to bring this up. So Brent Allen Eastman is a man who was arrested. He's living currently in Anderson, Indiana, but he lived in Delphi and Logansport. He is arrested for CSAM, but with an aggravating factor. And the information is that it is containing child bondage with children as young as 2 years old who are tied up and tortured. This is information that was in the news. I did do a couple of community posts as I got a little bit more of info 2 times about him when it was announced he was arrested. But I know that some people, and I'm bad at it myself, don't go look a lot in community posts. And so I wanted to make sure that I did a video in regards to this guy. He is all over the news for just because of the arrest and the details of it, not because of the Delphi stuff, which we looked into, and that's how found out about his Delphi connection. So, and as you can see by the thumbnail, guess who his attorney is? His attorney is Andrew Baldwin. Anybody think that's awful interesting too? It is just blowing my mind, right? It unbelievable. So yeah, it's it's horrific. But so let me go to, and let me see. I'm going to probably go ahead and show this. So this is from Fox 59 that we're going to watch. And we're going to watch this particular video. I'm going to do stop sharing and then do another share on this because I already have it pulled up so we don't have to, see any commercials or anything like that on the video itself. All right. And we're going to watch the news part of this here. Maybe. You know what? Let me do this. Let me do a refresh on it real quick. That's probably the best thing to do. And I'll just do entire screen. Make it a lot easier. I know it's not the prettiest way to share this stuff, but I never said I was good at using StreamYard at all. But, all right, let's go back to here. And I'm going to move this thing up. It'll be out of our way. All right. And then, of course, I hate now when you click on this stuff, it puts it over in this corner, but it does. I'm so sick of seeing Osmond in her commercials. Okay.
That's why there's Complete 50 from Nutrisystem.
Lose weight with Complete 50, shown in a study to reduce belly fat by 8%.
Feel the difference Complete 50 can make in your life.
Get $30 off, plus get free shipping with promo code SAVE.
All right, now.
Possessing hundreds of... An Anderson man is now out on bond after he was charged with possessing hundreds of graphic child porn images.
Officials say the investigation into 51-year-old Brent Eastman started more than 2 years ago. Fox 59's Max Lewis explains why he's out of jail and the reason it took so long to charge him with the crime.
2021, state police got several tips from the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children about child porn images that police say they tracked back to an IP address at this Anderson home. Later that year, they raided the home and seized numerous electronic devices used by 51-year-old Brent Eastman.
It just took the state police lab a fairly long time to process that computer and get the information that was needed to move forward.
After 2 years at the state lab, court documents say investigators found 240 child porn images, along with one video and 41 images portraying child bondage. Those images are too horrific to describe on television.
It's hard to read probable cause affidavits or see behaviors depicted in photographs or videos about children and not be repulsed by it.
After his arrest, Eastman was let out on a $10,000 bond last week. According to court records, he's a truck driver and therefore travels, so the judge is also allowing him to leave the state. Prosecutor Rodney Cummings says he's sickened by the allegations, but the law treats a case like this differently.
The mere possession of these isn't viewed by our legislature as being as serious as someone actually interacting with the children themselves.
A lot of people here told me they hadn't heard about the charges, but say it was especially worrisome since a lot of families with young children live in this neighborhood.
You never know about things like this. You see it on TV, but you never think it's right around the corner from your house.
Jeremy Lennon has lived here for several years and didn't know Eastman, but hopes justice is served.
It's the worst kind of a sexual predator, I think. I mean, they're innocent children.
In Anderson, Max Lewis, Fox 59 News.
Eastman has waived his right to fight extradition if he's arrested while out of state. He is scheduled to be back in court again in May.
So, as you heard, this guy is out. He's out on frickin'
New Proactive
bond,
Clean, an acne routine for sensitive skin.
which
Dermatologists
is
developed and tested to
absolutely,
clear mild
sorry,
acne and occasional breakouts.
stupid thing.
Proactive Clean.
Absolutely amazing. Hold on, let me get that out of here. To even believe. So, as you could tell, they did a search warrant, and the search warrant was initially done on December 6th of 2021. So, as you can tell, this is his house that he has in Anderson. So, like do with most of these people, you know, I go and look at those, track them, drop them in. We have a whole Discord that is just about these guys, right? And we keep track of them, and then, you know, I enter them in this database tracking, and then I end up doing those CSAM updates and stuff like that, right? So here's what's interesting that I needed to first point out to you guys. December 6th of 2021, if it sounds familiar to you, there's a reason. And the reason is because that is the same day that the Indiana State Police went public about Anthony Schatz and the Delphi case. So, and then we remember, if you remember, we had, and if you remember from watching here, or if you're in Indiana, the very next day on December 7th, it went out to let people know, oh, guess what? By the way, the person who created the Anthony Schatz account, we already arrested him back on August 19th of 2020. So when you look at this, what's interesting about it is this. Okay, so if you're new, hi, welcome. By the way, hit the like button. Please subscribe. I did it, Mama Bear. I remembered to ask people to do that, please. She'll be so proud. Anyway, what I will share is that back then, okay, we were all wondering at the very beginning of 2017 on February 25th, when the KLINE'S had the first search done on their home, which was leading from Anthony Schatz, not only from Anthony Schatz communication with Libby, but Anthony Schatz that had got an address for a girl, and then there was a man in a mask outside her house. All these girls knew about Anthony Schatz, knew that Libby wanted to meet Anthony Schatz, right? And that he was going to meet her, because as we went through recently in the big, long, like I like to call it, the marathon video that we went through of KEGANKLINE or Anthony Schatz setting up a meeting for Richard Allen. I think that's what the video is called. And went through all of that, of when it went through and how it went through, and the full timeline of that. Please go see it if you haven't. Okay, so they sit here, they could bring him in. We know based on the information that when they finally arrest KEGANKLINE in August 19th of 2020, he is being asked again questions that they are referring to also about his very first interview about Delphi, which was back on February 25th of 2017. Now, we all wondered, why the hell was there a huge delay in KEGANKLINE being arrested? Well, one, I want you all to note that this guy was investigated in 2021, and he just got arrested this month in 2024, okay? So KEGANKLINE sits here, and they have this information. So their main focus, one, on KEGANKLINE is that they're asking about Delphi. They're looking to Delphi. They want to know about Anthony Schatz. They want to know about this communication that was going on with Libby. Now, we know ongoing over all of these years, Anthony Schatz has still been the curiosity of that, shown the proof of that in the timeline that we did in that last video, that they keep expanding upon the Anthony Schatz. So Keegan's let go. For 3 years, he's out from 2017 to 2020. Well, he only had CSAM. And trust me saying that disturbs me greatly, but that's what you just heard on the news them talk about. And even though that this guy, right, this man, Brent Eastman, has the most horrific type of CSAM that you can have, he is freaking out on bond because the legislation doesn't show a danger unless he was producing the CSAM. And we've talked about that before. So we now learn that, you know, they kept it secret, right? We knew that they kept it secret because we're like, how the hell did we not know that Anthony Schatz was out there being looked at publicly to the general public? How did we not even know that KEGANKLINE was in jail? Well, the only reason that that came out was because of this. There was a local news reporter. She's no longer here. She now broadcasts in Florida with Channel 8, Wish TV. She had followed information and she found out about the Anthony Schatz and she found out about KEGANKLINE being in jail. So she communicated with Wish TV, she communicated that they were going to report this information out. So it was held back. And because it was held back, they sat here and then suddenly made this press, as you can see, I'm sure you guys all remember this, that came out on December 6th of 2021, talking about if you've communicated with Anthony Schatz, if he tried to meet with you, if he tried to do blah, 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 all this kind of stuff in Snapchat and Instagram or whatever form of social media, please contact us. The next day, December 7th, we find out KEGANKLINE is actually in jail. Okay. Well, what happened before the announcement happened? A couple of things. And we'll go over that here. So let me go through the information on Brent Allen Eastman. So this is on the My Case public information. It shows you that he is in Madison County Circuit Court 4. He's got a level 5 felony. As you can see, these are all of his charges. Possession of child pornography with aggravating factor. And then they have the codes and stuff for all of that. And then, so he's got 2 different counts of that, and then 2 counts of possession of child pornography. So we go through this information, looking at what happened and when this all went down. So remember, December 6th of 2021 is when they went and did the search warrant and took his computers and everything from his home at the time. So the Indiana State Police, when they go investigate this, they said they had multiple tips from NetMec, is what it was said at the time. Well, they sat here and they collected all of his electronic devices. And then they submitted it to the Indiana State Police Cyber Crimes Unit. So ICAC, if you ever see me post that, that's what that's about. And once they submitted that, they had to wait for it to come back to them. So in March of 2023, 2 years later, those devices were returned to investigators. And so one of them was an actual laptop, and it belonged directly to Eastman, and that it contained, like they said, 240 images of child sexual abuse material, or CSAM, and a video, and 41 images that was containing what they classified as, quote unquote, CSAM containing child bondage. This is according to the official court documents. So in the probable cause affidavit, it describes the graphic detail of involving children, being involved in sexual assault is what's happening on them. I'll phrase it that way. And these kids were as young as 2 years old. 2 years old. So after they get this information back, so we've got the 21st, December 6, 2021. We get the information back from Internet Crimes Against Children, March of 2023. Here's when you see the case was actually opened as a new filing, which was February 1st of 2024. And then the information that's filed, then they ask for a warrant for the arrests. And if you could see here, notice of exclusion of confidential information, notice of intent to seek habitual offender status. If you look up here, there's the Madison cash bond. So his bond was set as $10,000, and it appears that he paid the $1,000 to get out. So they show the probable cause affidavit that's here, all the notices and stuff that go on from here. And then if you can see this, I hope you guys can see this okay. In the middle of the screen, on February 9th of 2024, appearance filed. This is for his attorneys to file. Kelly Pyle, Andrew Baldwin, and Amanda Price. That is Baldwin's law agency. So Baldwin is representing him. So they turned around and filed that they wanted the warrant to be recalled on him, that they wouldn't have the warrant on him. And the warrant was, it was denied to recall the warrant for obvious reasons, right? So you can see of what was issued and notification. Then when they put him in scheduling activity, so he pleads not guilty, automatic not guilty was entered for him. You can see the attorneys here again with Baldwin. Then you can see the initial hearing, and then the hearing scheduled activity. The bond was placed on Valentine's Day of this year, and the they canceled this other hearing that was supposed to happen because he was let out on bond. And then they had to agree in this, they had to agree that he is a trucker, and because he's a trucker, that's how he makes his living. So they're going to allow him, and I'm not even kidding you, they're allowing him to travel. He can travel out of state. So even though he has this type of horrific stuff going on here, he is allowed to travel out of state. It's blowing my mind. Absolutely blowing my mind. So what they did is you can tell in the information of the stuff that is filed that they asked him to waive his any extradition, which is interesting if you listen how they worded that, right? It's really strange the way they worded that about if they need to arrest him and he's out of state. Okay, well, wait a minute. he's scheduled, you're allowing him to travel, and he's supposed to come back to his court date, as you see here on his information. And there's all the discovery ordered, motion filed, order issued. So if you look, he gets to stay out until his trial date on May 14th, or the hearing date, I should word it, May 14th of 2024 at 1:30 p.m. So does anybody else find it interesting that the way that you worded it, that it was worded, and you just heard it in the news thing I played for you, that if they need to arrest him, that he waives his extradition? Well, wait a minute. You're obviously not worried about something. You're letting him take off. He can travel anywhere in the United States for a man who has all of this type of stuff. And you had him waive extradition. But if he's going to show back up in May, you know, what's the worry from it, right? What would he be rearrested for? I'm just curious about that. That just hit me as odd, right? So let's go to this information. This is public information on, you can find it on any Intuit, Truth Finder, whatever, whatsoever. And this is where I'm going to show you addresses where Brent Allen Eastman lived. And as you can see, he has lived in Anderson. And as you can see, he lived in Delphi. And I'm going to bring up this first address for you. And if you guys see, and let me know if you guys can't see this well. I can change this to full screen. Can you guys see this pretty good? Or, hey, Darren, can everybody see this all right on the map? So if not, I can try to make it bigger. So if you look to the left where the red balloon is, oh, go full screen. Okay, hold on. Wait up, guys. I'm gonna go back this way. Go back in StreamYard. Let it do this. Oh, view. Is that better? Sorry, guys. I know I have a hard time. It depends what I'm looking at, but can you guys see that better? Okay. So if you look to the left side, my mouse is over it. I don't know how well everybody can see the mouse, or even if you can, to be honest. But you'll see a red balloon. So that is where Brent lived, right? Now go over to the far right, right past the Delphi Community Middle School where Abby and Libby went to, and see the yellow star? You can kind of see his name in it. That's Richard Allen's house. So this address he had is that distance from Richard Allen. Now let's go to this next. So again, he lived in Anderson. He's lived in Delphi. He lived in Lebanon and Logansport. So here we have another Delphi addresses, right? And let me show you this screen. So we have this address, the red bubble, And we've got the Delphi Middle School. We've got address. And let me make sure this is out of the way. Whoops. Monon High Bridge, where I showed you before. Then Logansport, and then Anderson. I'm going to show you a closer thing of where he lived. I thought this was kind of important. This is the blue bubble of where the news showed of his house, and confirmed his the address of where he had lived in Anderson, where they did the search warrant. Do you see these marks here? All these little graduate hats? Those are all the schools he lives near. So let's share what else. I hate that this damn thing gets in the way. Oh, I think I can hide that. Darn it, I always forget I can. I just remembered. There we go. All right. So after the December 6, 2021, Indiana State Police got the devices back. March 23rd, 2023, Indiana State Police Cybercrime Unit. Then charges were filed February 2nd of 2024. Here's what I want to remind you. Now, the second search warrant on the Kline's home was done in 2021, just right before then as well. The second search warrant. The second search warrant, we don't have a probable cause affidavit for. The second search warrant that we know of for two reasons. One, if you watched the last video I did, I showed you the clip from the news of them interviewing a neighbor of Tony Kline's house that states that unmarked cars showed up and that they took the dog. If you follow the case for a long time, you guys may already remember that. That was the second search warrant. This is while KEGANKLINE was in jail. Well, remember, in the info that I also shared with you guys, KEGANKLINE, when he was doing the interview with Barbara McDonald, December of 2021, right? When she's sitting here and we finally see that interview with him that goes on, he sits her and he informs her a couple of weeks before this, exact words, 2 to 3 weeks before this interview, he says to Barbara McDonald, this is KEGANKLINE, well, our house got raided a couple, 2, 3, maybe 3 weeks ago. And my dad stopped talking to me. He's no longer talking to me. I think he's upset because he thinks I had something to do with the raid that happened on the house. Well, the raid happened on the house, and I've pointed this out before it went public about all the CSAM, before it went public about KEGANKLINE, before it went public to everybody. So before it hit about all of this stuff, we do find out. Now, I don't have 100% connection proof on this part that they happened for a reason, but I'm pointing out a possibility. So I am doing a little speculation on this right here. Remember that the questioning that all happened was about Emily Ann. Again, we talked about all of this. Emily Ann was talking to girls, according to the Internet Crimes Against Children head of the task force, right? Cecil, who runs the whole task force, says Emily Ann is talking to girls across the country. Emily Ann was communicating back and forth with someone several times, that they were sharing links back and forth to each other. Remember, they also questioned Kegan about images of a 3-year-old child that was on his devices, which he said he found disgusting. He didn't, want to see that, didn't want to hear about any of that. But that Emily Ann was going back and forth with this particular person and was sharing images back and forth. What do you have? What do you have? What do you have? And going back and forth. So within these weeks of each other, Brent Eastman's house also happened to get searched with all of this stuff on it. So does Tony KLINE'S. Second search warrant. We don't have the probable cause effort, David. If it was CSAM related to KEGANKLINE, then why didn't we see additional charges added to his stuff? Why did it not increase to more than 30 charges? Why did they sit here and talk about Emily Ann would sit here and have communications about, will you have sex with my father? And is indicating that he's in his 40s then at the time, and trying to get the girls to communicate. And that was happening all over. And the ones that were local, Emily Ann would then get them to become friends back in the day before Anthony Shots was created with Kegan's social media. And then Kegan was trying to get it set up. So when you talk about Delphi, not only can share with you that Delphi, he had lived there, but I can also tell you that we found out now he was no longer married. Eastman had got married in Delphi way back when he got married to, I believe it's his first wife. I don't think there was a wife before then, but he's had others. And so when he was married way back then, he had a child, and I'm not going to reveal the child's name or whatever. We don't dox and say or whatever. Plus, they don't have anything to do with this disgusting shit. Okay. And you don't know when he got into all of this stuff either. But that child went to and graduated from Delphi High School in 2014. Now, that means that his kid went to Delphi High School at the same time that Richard Allen's kid went to Delphi High School. So that doesn't mean that, the families by any means were good friends or whatever. But it does show a possibility of a community who has, only 400 some kids who are registered for a high school, about 100 kids, a graduating class, that he could have known people in Delphi, correct? So when we have KEGANKLINE in jail, in 2021, when he's talking to Barbara McDonald, he's saying, I've given them everything they want. I'm doing everything that they said they wanted, all this kind of stuff. We know that he has to share what info and who's going here and who's clicking here. And they're checking all of these friends he listed. And remember the friends he didn't list that he was trying to hide from them, and to see who's going into what and who he's communicating with. So I am trying to get the official court documents from this case. Again, like I've shared with all of you, I hate covering CSAM, and this, for God's sakes, makes me sick to my stomach. But I think it would be interesting to find the probable cause affidavit from his arrest and what led to his arrest. And who was he sharing and communicating stuff with? And why are they letting him out of jail? We hear them say, okay, legislatively, they don't see it as bad. But if guys are looking at this kind of shit, people, are you telling me that you don't worry that they're gonna do something? I mean, it's freaking crazy. Now, this stuff makes me sick. But I will tell you this. I did contact the Madison County court system, circuit courts, and I'm waiting to find out what I can get my hands on. Now, I'm only asking and sharing this only if somebody wants to. The information they're going to share and what I'll find out what they can share and what will be in there when you go to the courts, and it can be verified if you go to the courts, it is $1 per page to get all of this stuff. Now, there's a lot of stuff that, I'm not a monetized channel whatsoever. I don't want part of your guys' money going to YouTube. I don't want YouTube to tell me that I can't say the words of that somebody's murdered or sexually abused or anything like that. But, the StreamYard, all that other stuff, just like anybody else will tell you, does cost a lot. I'm not sure how much, but I have a feeling I'm going to hear about a lot of pages of the probable cause affidavit that led to him. And so to try, if anybody's interested, I'm not even going to show it up here. I'm going to make you hunt it yourself. In the links and stuff on my channel, I do have a Cash App on there. If anybody wants to help with some of the burden of relieving some of the expense of the purchasing of documents, you're, thrilled for whatever you may want to help or whatever. You definitely don't have to. I don't do memberships. I don't do any of that because I want to help inform people and do whatever, and don't do anything if it burdens you whatsoever, because I would never ask anybody to do that. Right. So I'm just throwing that out there. Mama Bear said it would be okay. So I'm going to do it. I want to make sure if I can find out this connection. And you guys, I did a little short video, which I call it short. YouTube doesn't call it short because it's 2 minutes long. And it talks about a couple of the answers that Doug Carter, Mick Leland, and an interview with Doug Carter and stuff were all talking in regards to Kline and the murder, and whether there was investigation. I think that those are interesting responses. Please go watch it. That's only a 2-minute video. Here's the thing, guys. Here's the thing. I post this in community posts. So again, if you don't check it, I'm bad at it too. I subscribe to people and I used to be horrible at going to look at it. But I do try to use it to do case updates and anything and stuff going on, like the update from the case that now they want more time. The defense wants more time because of all the overload that they just got of discovery from the prosecutor, and they need more time to review it. So now they're trying to push back that as well, of response of who they're going to have. But this information is important. The legislation is not going to change in your own state or in the United States or whatever country you are watching from if good people don't step up to stop these evil people from doing shit to our kids. And that is these acts that are currently out of committee but are not approved. Lots of stuff floats like that. Lots of stuff comes out of the committees of our government and then they don't get passed. And I don't have to tell you guys any of that. And trust me, if I did a show about what I thought about some stuff going on with the government, they would knock me off of YouTube instantly. I'm just saying. These acts are important. They're important for your own kids. They're important for your nieces and nephews. They're important for your grandkids. They're important if you don't have kids, but you still care about kids. They're important if you've had this happen to you. If you've been a victim of CSAM, if a family member, if a friend, if a neighbor. Don't wait till something happens to somebody you know to care whether these pass or not. And be active in your own state to try to make things happen in case the federal doesn't. And there are states who are very active in it. Look for your representatives. Look for your senators and communicate with them. I've shared in the community post how to find who your people are. Send them an email. Make a phone call. All you have to say is, I am one of your constituents, and I want you to support the advancement of the Stop CSAM, the Earn It Act, the SHIELD Act, the Report Act, the Project Safe Childhood Act, and the Kids Online Safety Act. Guess who's fighting this stuff? Social media is fighting it. You probably all saw also when I posted that Meta is helping encryption be easier for people who use it, which benefits these pedophiles who are on there to prevent to be found and what they're sharing. What is the Stop CSAM Act? Strengthen cyber tip line reporting requirements to ensure reports contain sufficient information to be investigated and children safeguarded. It provides child victims with their day in court against online platforms that knowingly engage in certain activities relating to the distribution of CSAM online. It establishes report and remove program, providing child victims and their representatives with structured progress to notify the companies when they are hosting CSAM and legal recourse if the CSAM is not removed. If this happens to your kid, they should take it down. What is the Report Act? It empowers child victims and adult representatives to report child sexual abuse material in which the child is depicted to NetMech Cyber Tip Line. Enables law enforcement to electronically transmit CSAM seized from offenders to NetMech for child victim identification. Remember that KEGANKLINE, they only identified 6 to 7 of his 15 victims. Require online platforms to report child sex trafficking and online enticement to NetMEX cyber tip line. Right now, they just choose like what stuff they're going to report and not. NetMEX, when you watch them talk, they say how, well, they'll sometimes, report a little bit and stuff to them, but they don't report everything to them. Requires online platforms to preserve data reported to the cyber tip line for 1 year to help law enforcement investigate it. The SHIELD Act. This is stopping harmful image exploitation and limiting distribution. It's a bipartisan bill that addresses the devastating impact of the non-consensual distribution of explicit images online. The SHIELD Act would benefit child victims by criminalizing the distribution of visual depictions of a nude minor in instances where the images are expletive, thank you, but do not meet the legal definition of sexual explicit conduct that constitutes child or CSAM or pornography. The SHIELD Act benefits child victims by filling a gap in the law, filling. Sorry, I broke one side of my glasses, so this tells you how well I'm doing. Filling a gap in the law to criminalize the distribution of sexually exploitative, why can't I say that word? Exploitative images of a child. The SHIELD Act will provide a remedy to combat the distribution of sexually exploitation, I'm just going to say that, images of a child by criminalizing the knowing distribution of a visual depiction of a nude minor with intent to abuse or humiliate a child or to arouse or gratify a sexual desire. The bill defines a visual depiction of a nude minor as a sexually exploitation image depicting a child that does not meet the legal definition of sexual explicit conduct that constitutes CSAM. This is Project Safe Childhood Act, and I'm just going to highlight. So it improves the coordination among federal, state, and local law enforcement and prosecutors on best practices, training, and trends relating to child sexual exploitation cases to create stronger reports to these crimes and improve services for child victims. It encourages law enforcement to submit all seized images to NetMEX, Child Victims Identification Program, as a best practice. If you have watched my video about a CSAM survivor, then you know why that bullet point is important. She saw the person who abused her and other girls being arrested, who was fixing to get a deal, a plea about what he did. And she was brave enough to come forward and made contact. And when they did, she found out that in the evidence that they had, there was pictures and videos of her in there and the other girls, couple of girls that she knew of. And because she spoke up, then they went back and looked at that stuff that was sitting in an evidence room, and they were only charging him for the ones that was just recent. They were charging him for her or anybody else in those images. But if the police can send that information directly to NetMec, they can identify those other kids. Some of these are now, they'll be teenagers or grown women, for God's sakes, who didn't speak up because they think it's their fault. If they're in there, they should be identified and they should be helped. Establish a national Safer Internet Day to provide online safety, educating, and messaging. It is important. This is the Earn It Act. This benefits the law and the victims, enabling all victims to have a legal recourse against online platforms that knowingly distribute CSAM in which the child is depicted. We had cases that they testified on Capitol Hill of a mom who talked about that she called and let the social media companies know that her child who was abused was online and they weren't taking it down. I want you to imagine that. Your kid is on there and they don't give a crap that you're asking them to take it down. Enhancing the cyber tip line, reporting by online platforms. This will help NetMec, guys. This will help them. Requiring online platforms to report the child sex trafficking and online enticement to NetMec cyber tip line. Do you know on average that they say within minutes when a child joins on Instagram and Snapchat, it takes minutes, guys, for your kids to be solicited by predators? Updating the U.S. federal statute by replacing the term, instead of child pornography, that it is child sexual abuse material. Shouldn't be classified as pornography. It is child abuse. It is abuse of a child. Supporting law enforcement by requiring online platforms to retain content reported so that the cyber tip line can access it for 1 year for law enforcement, where they can sit here and get this information out. Think about Anthony Shots. Think about that. This stuff that is coming out, they had to go to Yellow App and they had to go fly to France to the headquarters of Yellow App, which is now Ubu. Don't have your kids on that, for God's sakes. That 12 app is the parent company of it. They only had that one app that they created. They sold no advertisements whatsoever. They're saying it's free for kids ages 13 to 25. They did not, they made it default to make your kids 13 even if they weren't. They didn't verify ages of men or predators who would be on there. They could be of any age. It automatically connected to your kids' Instagram and Snapchat and let them see how many miles away your kids were. That was revealed in April of 2022. So if they still weren't on Anthony Shots and KEGANKLINE, why were they announcing about Yellow App on the news, April of 2022? Establishing a national commission on online child sexual exploitation, prevention, That is only in the Senate version. Now, do I get heated about this stuff? Absolutely. Absolutely. These predators win if we do nothing. This man had babies, guys. Had babies. The stuff that's coming out from this CSAM is worse and worse and worse. And unfortunately, the huge trend, a hierarchy of a child petty ring is the worst of the worst stuff that you can have. And I guarantee you that this guy had to be up there in a group if he's looking at that stuff. He's out. He can travel anywhere. He can be anywhere. Now, we don't know that he's done anything to any child whatsoever. And maybe behind the scenes, somehow he's cooperating. But I want you to know that the man who's telling you about how Richard Allen is so innocent and all this kind of stuff and all this thing is representing this type of other client as well. There's a lot of coincidences going on. There's a lot. I thought I would come out and tell you, and I will be doing a show that I'm trying to actually, I need to completely finish it up and update it because of a bunch of people who got arrested for actual production. And maybe it came from this, because I'm going to tell you there's little kids that it was production in. And I mean here in Indiana. There's no way for me to trace completely unless I find that the people are connected to somebody in Indiana. Then I'll sit there and I do that. Or I find that it's like just the ultimate, right? And then I'll tell you about that. But I'm going to have another show, another CSAM show that's going to talk about some other people that were busted. Maybe some of these people came from the videos that were just captured from this. Because internet crimes has to go in and has to be able to identify these children. If you justice warriors want to do something, please take a screenshot of what I showed you. Go into my community post and share that. If you have channels, share it on your own channels. Take pictures and stuff of it. We have to do something or these predators will win. Protect your kids, your grandkids, your nieces, your nephews, your neighbors. Protect children. You don't have to have children to worry about protecting children. I can't speak that enough. Please, if you don't know who your representatives and stuff in there, go into my community post, find your representatives, find your senators, send them an email. It gives you their email address and a phone number. It'll give you the DC phone number and an email address. Put the information in the title. Put the information in there and tell them, I am your constituent from wherever you are. I don't care what country you're from. The Internet Watch Foundation is a one that's over in the UK who does a lot of stuff and talks about these as well. Contact your local people and find out. Tell them you support it. Tell them you want these acts voted on now, this year. Tell them to protect your kids. And then contact your local state people and tell them you want laws passed in your state, which I know I will be doing, that a man who was caught with this kind of stuff, and think of all the places he lived here in Indiana. He lived in Anderson, he lived in Delphi, he lived in Logansport, right? All these different places that I showed you that he had lived. Public information. He's now able to travel. And I want a law passed that if something like this horrific is found, he should not be released on bond. Now, I feel a little better. Maybe. I feel a little better in getting the word out to you. I'm going to do some more work and try to find out what other details that I can find. But I wanted to get this information out to you, let you hear about it, let you see what is there, that there's a Delphi connection to this creep. And see what else is there, may be connected. I'm going to continue to work with the Madison County courts to get documentation. And we have been working and looking harder and stuff into stuff because there's so much crossover of, there is a small community thing. And like we said, we don't, the family and stuff in there don't know when he, finally divorced and left and was gone and was away from his family or whatever. But I thought it was awful interesting to find out a guy who was looking at this stuff was searched warrant on the same day as KEGANKLINE is revealed by the state police. They're searching this guy's house. They're taking his devices. But here's the hope for all of you. If more devices were taken from the Klines to find out who Emily Ann is or talking to or something else, justice does take time, and you do have to have patience for it. But if this guy's information has come in, then maybe the information from the second search warrant, for whatever reason, because we don't know, from Kline's house has come in. Yep. So thank you for letting me have an emotional moment. Thank you for, honestly just being here and listening and finding out this and being a justice warrior to make sure that we can make a difference. That's what I wanted to do the show for, is to help people and to make a difference. I will also share that I have communicated with Valerie Tyndall's mom, as you know, who out of Rush County had Patrick Scott, who was a neighbor and murdered her daughter. There is some information and stuff. We're communicating back and forth, and some stuff that there's supposed to be a plea deal, but there may be some help that she needs. And I'm going to try to get more details about that and see what we can do to help. I'll have the updated CSAM, which is going to be the worst of the worst that were recently arrested that we're dealing with production. And we're going to have a couple more Indiana cold cases that we're going to be reviewing. And obviously, we're going to continue to look for justice for Abby and Libby. God be with them and their families. It's heartbreaking of what is going on. Please, if somebody's going to tell you something, let them show you proof about it. Ask them to show you the proof. Don't just take that somebody said something and that's it. Let them show you where they got it from. So, thank you guys so much. Please make sure to hit that like button because I'm not a monetized channel. YouTube does not worry about trying to get my videos out there and on. I mean, I've had people who've started way after me and, have, got thousands and thousands of subscribers, but some of them just do clickbait and that's how they get them, but, and do a kind of stuff like that. So if you have a friend or a family member or somebody that you know and you want to share the channel or a show out on your social media to help spread the word about what we're trying to do here, that would be wonderful and great. I appreciate the likes. They do make a big difference. I appreciate you watching the community post and sharing those and liking those as well. And we just can't say how much we appreciate all of you. I want to thank Mama Bear and Paige and Jinx always for being here and for modding and watching everything. And I hope to be able to give you guys some more updates. And thank you again for letting me have an emotional breakdown right there. I kept it more together than I thought I was there at the ending, but I just can't when it comes to kids, guys. So, but thank you so much. Thank you for making sure that justice is served daily. Bye, guys.